after dark edition of Kruk and Kuip Extra Innings. As I am coming on air a bit late tonight since there was UFC earlier tonight, so I decided to come on air after the fights concluded. So now we'll get on to the off-season news going on with Major League Baseball this week. We'll start off with the Brewers, and the Brewers signing Christian Bethancourt to a minor league contract with an invitation to spring training. And speaking of spring training is only 6 weeks away, and we are about 1 month away from players reporting for the spring training season. And the crazy part is a lot of the top free agents still remain unsigned with a month left to go before players report. So I expect the hot stove to start burning up a little bit more as we get closer to spring training now. But yeah, Brewers signed Christian Bethancourt to a minor league contract with a spring training invite in the Brewers organization. The Oakland A's signed Simon Castro, Steve Lombardozzi, Slade Heathcott to minor league deals, and will likely start the season in AAA. Heathcott yo-yoed back and forth between AAA and AA last year. Twins signed Jordan Pacheco to a minor league contract. And a hello to Von Hook out there. And with Eduardo Escobar being signed, AJ Actor has retired from baseball. Tigers signed Brian Pena to a minor league deal in AAA. And also some sad news regarding Matt Garza, as he will have shoulder surgery and will likely miss the 2018 MLB season. So I wish Matt Garza a lot of luck here in a speedy recovery, as he probably be transitioning over to a bullpen role next year. And he pitched the last 4 years in the Brewers organization and has struggled the last 2 years. So hopefully he can recover from the shoulder surgery and maybe be a bullpen piece for somebody next season, as he'll likely sit out the 2018 MLB season. And former Giant Kevin Franzen is now going to be part of the new Philadelphia Phillies broadcasting crew. So I wish Kevin Franzen a lot of luck in broadcasting. And he had a couple good years with the Giants organization. Justin Morneau is joining the Minnesota Twins as a special assistant, so his career is over. And Cincinnati Reds signed journeyman Vance Worley to a minor league deal and hope to crack the Reds' starting rotation next year. Hopefully he can be next year's Scott Feldman for the Cincinnati Reds as Cincinnati continues the rebuild effort. Last year he was a 6.3 K, 9.3 over 9, 3.8 base on balls over 9. But his ERA was close to 5 with the Miami Marlins last year. And of course, a lot of players avoiding arbitration this week. So we might see the free agent market pick up a bit too now that teams are avoiding arbitration and going through arbitration with arbitration eligible players this week. LA Angels sign Rene Rivera to a $2.8 million deal with the Angels. And they designate Nate Smith for assignment. Okay, we're in good shape now. And the Brewers signed J.J. Hoover to a minor league deal after he was non-tendered by the D-backs and has a good shot of joining the Brewers rotation as they overhaul the Brewers bullpen as they are continuing to overhaul the bullpen this year to compete with Chicago and St. Louis in the NL Central. That'll be a $1 million contract if he cracks the majors. Brewers released Taylor Jungmann to pursue an opportunity with the Nippon League as he was designated for assignment by the Brewers. White Sox acquire Jose Rondon off of waivers and will give cash considerations to the San Diego Padres. Braves will release Adnis Garcia to pursue an opportunity in Korea. And Agent Jason Wood was suspended by the Career Sports Entertainment Agency, was fired by there and suspended by the MLBPA for legal matters, undisclosed. And the Mets signed Jay Bruce to a 3-year, $39 million contract. And that has huge implications for the Giants because now they're going to have to get a little more creative in trying to acquire an outfielder or signing an outfielder. Some options might be the only realistic trade option for the Giants at this point might be Andrew McCutchen if the price does not involve Heliot Ramos. A free agent option who I think's got decent defense might be Cameron Maybin. His price will not be too expensive. Some other options for the Giants for outfield via free agency might be another option could be Jared Dyson. Dyson's another inexpensive defensive option for the Giants. I'm sorry, Von Hook, I am a Giants fan, so I do post a lot of Giants on here. Other options in free agency for the Giants might be Jared Dyson. John Jay's another inexpensive option, but he would be a liability. Austin Jackson's another high risk, high reward center fielder. And then, of course, you can go overpay for Cargo, and I just don't think Carlos Gonzalez would be a good option for the Giants at this point. But I wish Jay Bruce a lot of luck returning to Queens next year as they look to bounce back from a bad season. As Alex Cora becomes their manager this year. White Sox signed Miguel Gonzalez to a one-year contract, and Jacob May was designated for assignment as the corresponding roster move. Tigers claimed Johnny Barbado off of waivers from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nationals re-signed Edwin Jackson to a minor league contract. At $1.5 million as he'll compete for the opening day roster. Mariners and Christian Bergman agree to a minor league deal. We'll look to try to crack the opening day bullpen for the Mariners. Marlins signed Jumbo Diaz to a minor league contract, as he should have no problem cracking the bullpen there. Minnesota Twins signed Addison Reed to a 2-year, $16.75 million contract, as he should certainly help bolster the back end of the bullpen for Minnesota as they look to compete again for the AL Central this year. And he'll definitely join Fernando Rodney and Zach Duke as Minnesota continues to retool the bullpen to compete in 2018. And here's the big trade of this week. The Pittsburgh Pirates trade Garrett Cole to the Houston Astros for Joe Musgrove, Michael Feliz, Colin Moran, and Jason Martin. And that should really create a very lethal rotation for the defending champion Houston Astros with now Garrett Cole joining Dallas Keuchel, Justin Verlander, Charlie Morton, and Lance McCullers and Colin McHugh in a very crowded starting rotation. And it'll get really interesting to see who wins that 5 spot in the starting rotation between Lance McCullers and Colin McHugh. I certainly think McCullers could end up being the swing man for the Astros next year. And that could also mean that Brad Peacock will become expendable at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Astros move Brad Peacock as the next move, as the starting rotation just got a lot more crowded for the Astros at this point. And it's really going to make it very tough in the AL West to compete with the Houston Astros if they can stay healthy. But we will see who gets traded. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody is traded out of the, since there's now 2 swingman, and I certainly think the odd man out of Houston is going to be Brad Peacock at this point. And we'll see what the Yankees do to try to counter the Astros at this point. Mets are in serious talks to acquire Adrian Gonzalez at this point. So we'll see how that works out. If they, Mets. Speaking of Mets have already signed Adrian Gonzalez. He will be signed to a no, it looks like he's being traded to New York, but Atlanta's going to retain most of his salary. So Gonzalez will probably compete with Dominic Smith for the first base job next year. So we'll see if Adrian Gonzalez can have a career resurgence in Queens next year. And the Padres extend Brad Hand for 3 more years for a 3-year, $19.75 million contract. So the Padres are definitely investing in Brad Hand. And we'll see if they make him the closer this year for the Padres. Pirates designate Shane Carl and Engel Vielma for assignment. And that should conclude this week's Hot Stove with the hot stove heating up. I am definitely in agreement with the idea of the MLB expanding the playoffs next year. I think it should be a 6-team. I'd go with a 6-team postseason where you have 3 wild cards, your 3 division winners, and then your top 2 division winners getting a bye in the first round. I certainly think maybe, or at least a best of 3 in the wild card series is something they need to do. I am not crazy about the play-in game that they're doing with the MLB right now. And speaking of the Oakland A's are going to have a free admission game on April 17th against the Chicago White Sox at the Oakland Coliseum to commemorate their 50th anniversary of being in Oakland. So if you don't have to work on April 17th and want to enjoy a free game of baseball, go out to the Oakland Coliseum and see them play the White Sox and celebrate their 50th year of baseball. So not too often you get to catch a Major League Baseball game for free. So this is a very good promotion the A's are doing this year. And I don't think the A's are going to be as bad as people think they're going to be. I am certain when I get closer to about a month out from doing MLB previews, as of course spring training approaching around mid-February, I'll start doing a preview of each division per week as we get closer to the MLB starting up. But certainly, I think this is a really good promotion by the A's of offering free attendance, as they've had issues trying to get fans to come up to the Coliseum, and with all the stadium issues going on in Oakland. And hopefully we get that, though. Hopefully they'll have a better picture of their situation by the end of next year. And in Giants news this week, they also extended five players to avoid arbitration. The big one being Joe Panic, who was almost traded. And I'm glad Joe Panic's going to still be a Giant this year. Joe Panic gets $3 million on by avoiding arbitration. Will Smith gets $2.5 million, as Will Smith is going to be back in the Giants bullpen next year. And a hello to everything NHL. Hope you're having a good night. And Joe Smith signs for $2.5 million, as Joe Smith hopefully, or excuse me, Will Smith, as I've heard the downtown Oakland Stadium has fallen through. I'm sorry to say, but Will Smith gets $2.5 million, and he'll be back in the Giants bullpen this year after a year of injury last year. So hopefully he can be the lefty that Bruce Bochy had in mind for the late inning situation next year. Hunter Strickland signed for $1.5 million. And this is going to be prove it time for Hunter Strickland, as he will likely be used in the 7th inning this year. So we'll see what happens with that. I certainly think Strickland will be a 7th inning guy with either Dyson or Melanson, and hopefully Melanson can come back. And all right, you have a good night, everything NHL. But I certainly think Melanson's one that's needs to have a bounce back year for the Giants. I definitely would like to see the Giants, as we figure out the closer situation in spring training, if it's either going to be Sam Dyson or Mark Melanson. Hopefully Melanson can really bounce back from a dismal year last year. And I certainly think if the season does go south, I do think Hunter Strickland will probably be on the move if things go south next year. You know, that's a 50-50 chance about the A's being relocated. I hope not. But I think their most realistic option in Oakland at this time is to renovate the Coliseum, to have it be a baseball-only stadium when the Raiders leave for Las Vegas in a few years. I certainly think they can add seats to the foul territory, take out Mount Davis, and maybe have that be a bridge. Or you can look at what they did with Angel Stadium after the Rams left Anaheim. They could do some scale of renovation like they did with that, and hopefully it can bring fans to the game, and hopefully maybe sell off some of the parking lot when the Warriors leave to develop some of the area around it for housing and restaurants and whatnot. But I don't know. It's 50-50 if the A's get relocated, and I don't think it'll be Montreal. I think it'll be somewhere like Las Vegas or Sacramento, maybe. But now for the most part, that's going to conclude this week. Probably next week we'll talk a little NBA, as I'm starting to get into buyers or sellers with the NBA next week. They've tried baseball in Vancouver, but it didn't work out too well. Next week they tried. I don't think Vancouver would be a good option for baseball. The AAA, when they had AAA in Vancouver, the attendance was not great there. I think it's going to be Las Vegas. I think it would be Las Vegas if anything. I think they want to keep the A's out west. But right now, I hope they stay in Oakland. Thanks for keeping me company, Von Hook. I'm going to get going. Like I said, we'll be back next week. We'll talk a little bit of Warriors next week now that we're getting near the NBA trade deadline and what the Warriors need to do and some of the other teams in the NBA. Thank you, everybody. Peace, love, and soul.